I'm here at the Cataract Gorge, or the basin, or the first basin. It gets called all sorts of names, but this is the most beautiful place in Launceston. You can see there's a swimming pool down there. That's closed at the moment because it was damaged in the floods. And there's a big pool. There's a suspension bridge across there, and it's just beautiful. And I've spent hours and hours here as a kid. Look at the stonework they do. It inspires me. As a child, some of my first memories are climbing up rocks around here. Come on, Charlie. Here's another nice bit of stonework. And there's the natural stonework, or maybe the Aborigines, or maybe the giants, or maybe it was Tartarians who built these big rocks. It is a very, very beautiful place. Just down here is called Hog's Bottom. It's where the young kids practice jumping off rocks. Here's a good view of Hog's Bottom. You can see there was a diving board there once. And it's a fair drop, and it's nearly impossible to touch the bottom. I've touched the bottom here at Hog's Bottom, but out in the centre it's so deep, and my ears nearly exploded when I touched the bottom here at Hog's Bottom. It's called Hog's Bottom because this guy called Hog died down there. And if we want to continue with the theme of Aboriginal stories and bunyips, this is another Aboriginal sacred site. It's one of the major ones. And this again was swampland. And it had a bunyip living in it. And I've got an Aboriginal friend, and she once told me, I came down here one time in the morning and found her over on the grass. And I'm pretty sure she was off her nana, as they say. And she was telling me, it was a day like this. I was down here in the morning, and she'd been there all night, smoking weed. And she told me how that there is a portal. Good morning. She told me how there was a portal in the centre there. That's her Aboriginal myth, but I think it might have been her stoner myth. But she says that it opens up sometimes, and that's where the bunyips come and go from. Who knows? I think that she was just stoned. But it's a good enough story. What a beautiful place this is, huh? See all the bleached logs? They all get washed down in the floods. And these big rocks here, these have moved since last time I was here from the flood. The flood gets nearly up to that bridge. We'll head to that bridge now, hey? The Alexandra Suspension Bridge, built in 1904. And it's wonderful. Look at that weir on the other side. That's where the kids swim. I don't know if they still swim. When I was a kid, we all swam across there. And of course across here. And in the pool. Now you can't normally jump off this bridge. It would be death. But I've got a mate called Rat. I've got a bunch of mates called Rat. It's a pretty common nickname. But once when this was flooded, and it was only a couple of feet above the bottom of this bridge, he leapt off. And he got swept down here, swept down there, around the corner, for about 5 kilometres before he could get out. One of the coolest things he ever did. Rat was a cool guy. Now he's quadruple vaxxed and telling everyone to wear a mask. Now Charlie's one of the few dogs I've known who will walk across this bridge because it swings, and other dogs don't like it. Now we're away from the noise of the river. I'll tell you some other great things about here. Now, can you see in front of the grass, or behind the grass there, there's a building. It used to have a flat roof, and they used to have what was called the Basin Concert. They'd get big bands, big Australian bands and the occasional international act, and they'd have a free concert. And this place would fill up, absolutely fill up. The hippies would swim along here and get naked, and everyone else used to hang out there. And I recall the local radio station had a wet t-shirt competition, and a girl from my grade 9 high school class was in the final. Things wouldn't happen like that now, would they? Everyone would go to jail. There's peacocks here too. Maybe we'll bump into a peacock if we're lucky. There's a peahen. Can you see her? Oh no, it's a peacock, but he hasn't got his tail up or on. Oh look, there's... Look at that. Whole bunch of them. See, that's why you're not allowed to have dogs here. Don't tell Charlie though. He doesn't realise he can't read. And I didn't have the heart to leave him in the car. Alright, we've got a footpath closed due to flooding. But it's not flooding much at all. But they're expecting a flood today. But I think we can make it across. Now, when I was a kid, this was a very rocky path, and you had to wade through the water here. Since then, they've made this little bridge. There's the big bridge that we walked across. This is a wonderful place. This chairlift is the longest single-span chairlift in the southern hemisphere, apparently. Or at least it was once. There's a very nice cafe up that way. I should have had a look at that. But I want to get out of here before the council people get in and arrest me and Charlie for being illegally doggy. This is a little lagoon. Used to swim in here when I was a tiny little kid. And of course I used to swim in there when I was a tiny little kid too. There used to be oh look, all these rocks here have been moved by the latest floods. There used to be a concrete thing. I think there still is, but it's under the water. Along here. And they used to hire out kayaks, and that was really cool, until one of my friends drowned when he was on the kayaks, and then they got rid of the kayaks. And he was about 17 or 18, and he'd only learned to swim a couple of weeks before. I found it strange that Australians don't learn how to swim. But that was the case. And then he went and swam out in here. There were no real currents, but they were messing around on the kayaks, and he just went under. And I went to the inquest, I remember. It was very sad. His parents were so broken-hearted, of course. But we'll not dwell on that. Now, this beautiful grassy area, see, that's where the bands used to play, on that building there, and this would just be so full. And in the summer, when my good friend Alan was still alive, you could always find him here, usually on the grass there in the shade, and would swim in the pool a bit and just hang out. He was just a nice guy to sit around and chat with. Charlie's enjoying himself. these holes in the ground. They put a fence up here in the summer, or when the pool's open, they put a fence to stop kids going in unsupervised, I guess. Yeah, on a late summer's morning you could come here and there would be Alan by that rock over there. Usually, if I was ever wanting to catch up with him in the summer, just come here. It is, I think, one of the most beautiful places in the world. There's a similar place in Poland I visited. They call it the Eye of the Earth. I forget its name in Polish. Quite similar, but you have to go up a big mountain. This is 5 minutes from the middle of the city. It's a simple walk. It's about a 15-minute walk from the city. Okay, we'll say farewell to the basin, or the Cataract Gorge, or the first basin, or whatever you want to call it. That's a native hen going quack. Morning.